An I in Scots is an E, plural in. Skelly is cross-eyed or having a squint. This is a story about two fly fishermen and two anglers, and a fly in Scotland is a flea, spelled F-L-E-E rather than the other kind. You know, there are these artificial lures made with bits of feather and all sorts of and beads and goodness knows what else. Actually, they have all these and tied with thread or threed in Scots. They have sometimes actually the names they are given by the people who make them up are absolutely extraordinary. Articulated leech, woolly bugger black, Christmas Island crazy. These are real flies which I got from the internet. Then muckle is another word which you'll hear in the story. It means big or great or strong. Bumbees are honeybees, and hame is home. And I'll just keep my crib sheet here in case of accidents.
No hats.
No, this is a different kind of story. It's a somewhat gentler tale, and I think it needs to be done straight, you know, or as straight as it's possible for me to do, which is not necessarily the same thing. Oh, you who gang with rod or reel, with cast or line or net or creel, come listen to an angler's song. I won't detain you very long. There were 12 cronies in Dunglen, Jake Patterson and William Ben, grand fishers both, well kent their fame, far yond the borders of their hame, for they had fished the Tweed, the Tay, the Forth, the Finthorn and the Spey, and every burn and loch between, frae Annandale to Achnasheen. And what they didna ken about the wily salmon or the trout could all be written clear and plain on one side of a cherry stain. But oh, the salmon was their king, and fishing for it everything. Now, Willem was a hefty chap. He'd 16 stone of puff and hat, about 225 pounds. You know. I think. Jake was a brisk wee wiry felly, but off his een were off his skelly. The twa were soul brothers braw, with scarce a dispute between the twa, and sure on anything they'd agree, except the time o' a flea. For Jake was loyal, first and last, to orthodoxy in the cast. He trusted in the true and tried, all fancy notions he decried. He'd say, just give me tested tackle, like Whirling Dun or Dusty Hackle or Colonel Bates or Jock Scott, and I'll put salmon in your pot. But Willem was of different bent. He loved the bold experiment. He was inventing striped lures for tempting fishy epicures. He'd try bumbees or goat's horns, even the parings o' his corns, with scraps of rag and bits of wool, frae shocking pink to azure cool. His latest flea was his greatest pride. He bragged its merits far and wide, made with a purple parrot's feather, a wee bit scrap of crimson leather, a beetle case, an emerald reed, all wrapped around with golden thread. Oh, it was a gay and gaudy sight, and Willem called it Dew's Delight. Dew is a dove, by the way. Dew's Delight. And he swore that it would bring to hand the dourest salmon ever spawned. But Jake, he viewed it with disgust and muttered words the very worst. Oh, he couldn't stand such innovation and thought it naught but affectation. "Get sakes," he'd say, "yon Dew's delight would give a muckle whale a fright." One fateful day, Jake caught a cold. The neighbours grieved, for Jake was old, and syne the village hung its head to hear the news that Jake was dead. And Willem's loss was worst of all, his soulmate gone beyond recall. And oft as he would cast his flea, a sad salt tear ran frae his e'e, and he would wonder if in heaven the crystal sea was like Loch Nevin, and whether Jakey with his squint was catching 50-pounders and selling his creel full to the brim to fish shops run by Seraphim. One day, as he fished by Ochterline, the day was grey with drizzle fine. He thought conditions almost right for trying out his Dew's delight. He made a cast. I can't fish. I don't know how to fish. Did you hear the one about the one-armed fisherman? He caught a fish this size. He made a cast, and glory be, a muckle salmon took the flea. Then to the struggle fierce and fell, an epic only bards could tell. The fish knew every trick and wile known since Moses fished the Nile. It sprang and ran and jumped and lurked, while Willem hauled and wound and jerked. Long hours went by, until at length cunning gave way to weight and strength. At last, worn out by lengthy travail, the fish was grounded on the gravel. It lay there, a pecking on its belly, when Willem saw its een were skelly. Mad notions rushed into Willem's brain, notions fantastic and insane. Thoughts of Buddha's creed of transmigration, the true belief in incarnation. "Oh, fish," he cried, "for pity's sake, tell me, are you my old pal Jake?" The fish, it gave a kind of sigh. It had a weary sound like, At last, says Will, "You see I'm right. You fell for it, my Dew's delight. You scoffed at me your whole life long. Will you admit that you were wrong?" Now, folk, don't think you're being kidded. As sure as day, that salmon nodded. Willem bent down with trembling grip and loosed the hook frae off its lip, and like some sleepwalker in a dream, he cast the fish back in the stream. And from that day, old Willem Ben, he never touched a rod again. And that's the truth. I thank you.